fellow crafters, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making the popular mini scrub top badge reels. Let's clean our workspace and jump right into it. To get started, you're going to need to purchase some epoxy. I prefer to use Pro Marine Tabletop Epoxy. It's a 1-to-1 ratio 2-part product. You want to measure them in volume, not weight. Again, this product is measured 1-to-1 ratio, volume, not weight. And of course, there's a few tools that we will be using, and I will have all the items linked below. You are going to need a silicone measuring cup, oral medicine syringes, silicone smaller measuring cups, popsicle sticks, and something to measure your glitter with. Now to begin mixing your resin, pull up equal parts of part A and B. Here I am going to use 10 milliliters of each, and again I'm using the oral syringes to make sure that I'm pulling the correct volume of each product. Now using the popsicle stick, you're going to combine both products thoroughly. You have to ensure that the mixing is very combined. If not, your resin piece will not cure. I'm also using a heat gun here just for a few seconds to ensure that all the bubbles are removed from my resin piece, and it's going to make it easier to pour. And now for the fun part, adding the glitter. Here I'm going to measure 2 tablespoons of each color. Actually, in the end, I realized I added too much glitter and my resin was a little bit clumpy, but it's okay. My resin pieces still came out beautifully sparkly and smooth. And now I'm going to pour about 5 milliliters of our pre-mixed resin into each glitter cup. And I'm going to stir the glitter extremely well to make sure that everything's combined. You should get a very solid color here. Now we are going to pour our glitter epoxy solution into a silicone mold of our choice. Using a popsicle stick, I'm pushing the product into every corner of my mold to make sure that I have everything cornered, and had I made the solution more liquid, I wouldn't have to work so hard on spreading this, but that's okay because in the end the resin piece will still be sparkly and beautiful. Now, once you have it poured into the mold, you are going to have to wait 8 hours for it to be firm enough to be able to remove from the mold and continue curing on its own. I like to do this to cut down on dry time with applying the vinyl and attaching it to the badge reels. And of course, doming the piece before attaching it to the badge reels. Now I'm going to pick up the mold and tap out the air bubbles and hit it with a candle torchlight a few times to make sure all the air bubbles are out of my resin pieces. Beautiful. After 8 hours, we can demold our resin pieces from its silicone molds. And also a disclaimer, do not use heat guns on your silicone molds. It can actually ruin them. Now we're just going to add permanent vinyl to each resin piece. Lined up your design onto your scrub top. Press everything down with your finger just to make sure it's in place. And voila! And now we're ready for the doming process. Here I am using epoxy that I have mixed and left out for 5 minutes. It's definitely thicker than freshly mixed epoxy, and that's exactly what you want. You want to make sure that you can spread around and cover every inch of your resin piece in order to seal in your vinyl and give an overall glass shiny dome look. I'm actually standing eye level to my resin piece just so that I can make sure that I'm actually covering every single part of the resin piece. There has been times where I've missed a couple places, and it just absolutely bothers me that that one little edge isn't covered all the way with the second layer of epoxy. So standing at eye level with your resin piece definitely helps. Also, I have my resin piece sitting on top of a pyramid raised baking silicone sheet. just in case any of the epoxy wants to drip off the edge of the resin piece, it's not going to create this huge glob when everything dries. That way, if there's teeny tiny little pieces, I could just sand down the edges of any imperfection of drips that I don't like. Now you're going to let this piece dry all together for another 8 hours, and that should be firm and non-sticky after a total of 16 hours. Now we're going to attach the dried resin piece to the batch reel using E6000. I'm just going to dab a little bit here onto the batch reel, line up the resin piece on top of it, and allow the whole thing to dry upside down on my silicone mat. After 20 minutes, you can attach it to your backing card and package it up for your customer. It's super cute. I love the idea of this, and I thank you all for joining me today. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram. See you next time.